With statistics showing mental illness affects 1 out of 5 Americans, regardless of race, gender, or ethnicity, it should come as no surprise that many of our religious leaders also struggle with these illnesses of the brain. And yet, because of the stigma and shame associated with mental illness, many of our clergy, rabbis, and priests keep their illness from their faith communities.
A reading from the 5th chapter of James.
The Reverend Susan Gregg Schroeder hid her depression from her congregation for 2 years. This isolation forced her whole family to suffer in silence.
Them with oil in the name of the Lord. Psalm 57 has always been one of my favorite psalms, and one verse says, "In the shadow of your wings I will take refuge until the destroying storms pass by." And there are many reasons that people find themselves in those destroying storms or in the dark shadows. For me, it was having the illness of a serious clinical depression. The idea of being in the darkness is frightening to most of us, but I have learned through my journey that it can also be transforming. I often felt I was in a great struggle, and what I learned is that the more I fought whatever the feelings were, whatever the darkness was, the deeper into the pit I went.
The valley of the shadow of death is difficult to describe to those who have not spent time wandering in that deep darkness. But the dark nights of our souls, whether caused by illness, crisis, or some unknown origin, can be pathways to healing and opportunities for personal growth. While God works through doctors, medications, and other caregivers, the focus is often on healing the mind and the body and neglecting the important spiritual part of who we are as whole persons.
The gift of hope is something that I can only talk about as I have gone through the worst of my shadow, and as I look back on my depression, I hope, I realize now that I was not alone in my deepest darkness. I also realized that with the help of others, I persevered, and with their help, I was able to choose life. Hope does not come in any of that beginning part of that journey. There's despair, there's abandonment, there's shame, there's guilt, and it's only later that you can discover that God's been there all along.